Welcome to the Alaska Weather Show. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan, coming to you from the National Weather Service on this Saturday, June 18th. And I have a shorter public weather segment, so we're going to have to get right to things so I can deliver you the goods this evening. We do expect cooler temperatures with limited rainfall over southwest and south central Alaska, but at least it has moderated the fire danger a bit. Scattered showers and thunderstorms, but still high fire danger will persist across the central and east central interior, especially north of the Alaska Range, but also including still the Matsu Valley and parts of the upper Copper River Basin. Otherwise, cooler temperatures with rain will begin to overspread the Panhandle on Sunday and then continue Monday into Tuesday. But looking ahead, we will have drier and potentially much warmer temperatures for the mainland as we go through the latter half of next week through next weekend as a warm ridge of high pressure rebuilds through the mid and upper levels of the atmosphere. This could push temperatures in the 70s and 80s. I won't even rule out an isolated 90-degree reading in some of the normally warm spots. But looking at the FAA webcams this afternoon, Eagle, distant thunderstorm there off to the northeast prior to 2 p.m. at 67 degrees, and Eagle had the state's high temperature on Friday afternoon at 81. Fort Yukon, you can see those towering cumulus clouds, the building showers and thunderstorms with the temperature there at 68. And a number of readings, Fort Yukon will be well into the 70s this Saturday and likely repeat again on Sunday. Seward is seeing cloud cover, thicker, lower cloud cover with some sprinkles and light showers moving into the area as a trough approaches that region from low pressure that's hanging down just south of the Alaska Peninsula. Angoon in the central Panhandle is enjoying mostly sunny skies, as much of the Panhandle has the past couple of days. Temperatures there in the 60s and some 70s, a little cooler right along some of the waterways, but otherwise great weather. That's coming to an end, though. Tomorrow the clouds return with showers developing and then a cloudy weather pattern for the Panhandle early next week. Fire weather update, more thunderstorms, scattered storms possible for the interior. There could be some gusty outflow winds and lightning that could cause new fire starts, and cooler temperatures and some rain for southwest and south central Alaska, but there's still the fires are burning out there in the southwest. It's not going to be enough rain to put them out or end the fire season by any means. Temperatures overall across much of the state pretty typical, near normal for this time of year. We expect scattered thunderstorms for several more days across portions of the interior, and the cooler temperatures and areas of rain that are spreading from south central Alaska into southeast Alaska will be with us here through early in the week before temperatures start to warm back up and things dry out again. Here is the fire danger based on the spruce here for Sunday, and we see the highest fire threat in the interior, north of the Alaska Range, south of the Brooks Range, also pockets in the southwest, the lower Yukon Valley, as well as around the Matsu Valley and into parts of the Copper River Basin. Fortunately, though, we're not going to have a high degree of sun and really, really warm temperatures or any windy conditions. Nevertheless, though, still things are poised for the active fire season to continue. Looking at satellite imagery, you can see the low pressure circulation, that counterclockwise cloud circulation there around the tip of the Alaska Peninsula. There's another low and some moisture lifting up out of the North Pacific that's going to be approaching the Panhandle here as we go into Monday and Tuesday. Back through the northwest, it's cooler, cloudier there along the coast. Wainwright had the state's low temperature this morning at 28. So you expect that cooler weather to persist, though. I think it'll be a little warmer temperatures will back up there a little bit toward the west here as we go through the next couple of days. So there's the low this afternoon. Near the tip of the Alaska Peninsula, it's going to be passing out there on the North Pacific side and then just southwest of Kodiak Island by the time we get to Sunday afternoon. Weak trough of low pressure works its way up along the Gulf with areas of light rain and light rain showers spreading eastward along that. Not heavy rain, but enough at least to keep things a bit dreary along the Gulf Coast, and not enough rain to alleviate the very dry conditions across south central interior or the southwest. Sunday afternoon, we have scattered thunderstorms popping up north and west of the Alaska Range. Areas of smoke and smoky haze continuing, especially west and north of the Alaska Range. Notice that other little low that spun up out of the North Pacific, going to be approaching just west of Haida Gwaii and southwest there of the Panhandle, and as just kind of what's left of it, a trough lifts northeastward. That'll spread more rain across the Panhandle, in addition to the low that was southwest of Kodiak Island moves out into the Central Gulf. A rather weak feature, though. And then across the mainland, we just expect scattered showers and thunderstorms remaining possible, though temperatures are not going to be as warm. Just slightly cooler, for the exception along the Yukon River. Some temperatures will break into the 70s, but most areas along south central with the cloud cover, a little cooler temperatures will persist through the early part of the week, especially in through the Panhandle. We're expecting temperatures lows 40s across much of the state, 30s along the Arctic coast, northwest coast, west side of the Seward Peninsula. Best shot of seeing 70-degree plus temperatures will be north of the Alaska Range, south of the Brooks Range, along the Yukon Valley, and temperatures where it starts to rain upper 50s to low 60s there in the Panhandle. In areas along the Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound, eastern Kenai will be cooler, generally in the 50s. Lows Monday morning, again, statewide 40s pretty common, though you can see readings hold above 50 through the Yukon Valley. And temperatures, warmest readings will be again through the Yukon Valley, though I could see a 70-degree reading around Talkeetna, and rather cool along the northwest coast with highs generally in the 40s there, 41 from around Point Hope down toward Wales and Shishimarath. And looking at the 6 to 10-day temperature outlook, June 24th through the 28th, very good chance of above to much above normal temperatures centered on south central Alaska, surrounding Cook Inlet, Prince William Sound, the Kenai, including Anchorage. You could see 70s and some 80s. And then very dry conditions returning across the southeast interior, east central interior, which would not bode well for the threat of enhanced fire danger.
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Well, it's time for your aviation weather. And if you have a flight planned Sunday or on Monday, we continue to watch weakening area of low pressure south west of Kodiak Island, a couple weak lows in through the lower Gulf. Not a whole lot going on there. The main feature, though, is weak ridge of high pressure in the mid-levels of the atmosphere sitting over the mainland. It's going to kind of arch from the southwest out across along and north of the Alaska Range into northwest Canada, but nevertheless there is some moisture beneath that could lead to some scattered showers and some isolated thunderstorms across areas of the interior. There will be some showers along the Gulf Coast and areas of rain, north central Gulf Coast on over toward the Panhandles we work through Sunday into Monday. Otherwise, a little at least clearer conditions, I should say more in the way of VFR conditions along the north slope and west side of the state. Sunday afternoon, look for scattered showers and some thunderstorms popping up across the interior. Fire danger remains very high in those areas, especially the central and upper east central Yukon valleys. There will continue to be areas of smoke you encounter if flying there through the interior, especially west and north of the Alaska Range. And then on Monday morning, pretty much widespread VFR conditions across much of the mainland, and VFR conditions in through the Panhandle, along with some showers and areas of light rain. Further west, widespread IFR out over the Bering Sea. And then Monday afternoon, we do anticipate redevelopment of scattered showers and some thunderstorms from especially the south side of the Brooks Range, from Anaktuvuk and Adigan passes southward through the central Yukon Valley. And the outlook for Anaktuvuk Pass for Sunday, look for VFR conditions as you fly further south, though during the afternoon and evening. You'll encounter some scattered showers and storms, especially toward the Yukon River on Sunday. Adigan Pass, VFR conditions as well, with cumulus buildups and some scattered showers and storms as you fly further south and southeastward toward the Yukon River. Lake Clark and Merrill will generally see VFR conditions on Sunday, though in the morning As you get toward Cook Inlet, you could run into some MVFR conditions, and then as we get up toward the central Alaska Range, Rainy Pass as well as Windy Pass, VFR conditions. Further east, Isabel and Mentasta should hold on to VFR conditions, but as you fly further north, as I said, toward lower Tanana and up toward the Yukon River, you could encounter cumulus buildup, scattered showers, isolated storms. Same thing could happen even over the Talkeetna Mountains to the south of the Alaska Range. Tanita Pass, generally VFR conditions are expected Sunday, and then further south toward the northern Gulf Coast. Portage Pass will generally be VFR, especially the western half of the pass, but in the morning there could be MVFR conditions giving way to VFR by afternoon. And then finally, the far north end of the Panhandle, we expect VFR conditions to hold at Chilkoot and White, though some rain showers will begin to move inland there from the outer Panhandle coast as we go through the day on Sunday. Freezing levels are highest out over the east central Yukon Valley toward the Alcan border into northwest Canada, in excess of 8,000 feet. And coolest or lowest freezing levels aloft are centered over the Alaska Peninsula, Kodiak Island, associated with that area of low pressure that's out over the North Pacific just southwest of Kodiak Island. Precipitation around that low could create some areas of moderate icing down there near Kodiak Island and the Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, also southwest of Haida Gwaii, and then pockets there in the vicinity of a little deeper moisture, scattered showers, isolated storms in the interior, 10,000 to 16,000 feet. So the jet stream level winds relatively light across the mainland. Low pressure circulation most dominant there south of Kodiak Island. And then as we go down to 9,000 feet mid-levels, we have that weak broad ridge of high pressure across the mainland, kind of running along there and above the Yukon River. Low pressure circulation continues just southwest of Kodiak Island. And then as we bring it down to 3,000 feet, still we have that low pressure circulation, vertically stacked system there southwest of Kodiak Island and just east of the Alaska Peninsula. Otherwise, the mainland, relatively light winds with high pressure there along the eastern Arctic coast, and then a low coming up into the western half, the Aleutians, bringing in winds aloft 3,000 feet there to 55 knots, and that is the area we do expect some moderate turbulence there through the western Aleutians between the surface and 3,000 feet. So that wraps up your flight weather. If you are able to get out, have a safe flight.
We can't just put the fires out because we can't put them out. We've tried that now for a century and it doesn't work. It just makes the next one worse.
You may see a place like this and think, total devastation. And it's not your fault for thinking that.
But that depiction is, as we've learned from countless experts over the last 2 weeks, not the whole story, and not how you should think about wildfires.
The truth is, there are lots of types of habitats out west, and fire affects them all in unique ways. So it's important to start thinking about the big picture with wildland fires. So let's first rewind. To help us understand what's going on out west, Rob and I started calling up the experts, and what we found was that the story of fire, particularly in the west, is complex. So to understand it, we planned a road trip.
Road trip time!
The goal of our road trip was to see as many forests as we could and meet experts around the region to help us understand the role fire plays out here. First destination was to find the forest burned by the now famous Great Fires of 1910. And at the heart of what is known as the Big Blow-Up, the logical first place to stop, the city of Wallace.
Hi, Sarah.
Hi. Good. Haley and I are in this cute town of Wallace, Idaho, which was completely destroyed by the 1910 fires. You can see how much damage this fire actually did. Let's send up the drone and see what the surroundings look like now. What we found was a small town surrounded by a dense forest, with every single tree just over 100 years old.
So everything we see behind us now, that's all new growth since 1910.
And to help us put these historic fires and the forests around Wallace in perspective, we met up with historian Diane Smith.
This is Wallace, and here are your fires.
All of this is the 1910 fires?
This is not that unusual. The fact is, it just was at a time in our development as a country. We noticed it, we paid attention to it, and we got the national attention for it.
Right. As it turns out, these fires helped reinforce the idea at the time that every fire needed to be suppressed at all costs. And this suppression for so long has led to new problems, namely thick forests full of fuel. But don't just take my word for it. Let me show you the difference. Notice how different this place is than this one that has been thinned out quite heavily in the past, or like an area like this that's been burnt quite frequently. In fact, both of these areas show how many forests would have looked in the past under regular burns. The dead and low-growing material gets consumed easily by fire, very much unlike this forest, which has had fire suppression for over 100 years and could lead to a high-intensity fire.
And all of this dry, dead material, that's problematic.
So we went looking for a big fire and just followed the smoke. Oh gosh, a huge crown fire. I gotta get this. These high-intensity fires aren't great because in many forests they kill all the trees over a large area, even in forests that used to be very resistant to frequent fires. And nobody knows that better than the people that work in this particular forest.
There's green coming back, and I guess I've gotten somewhat used to it, and I still have hope that the entire Sierra Nevadas won't look like this, that we can maybe get ahead of it. So the fires nowadays can move from the surface right into the tree canopies really easily, where in the past, fires would have kept trees pruned, they would have kept fuel densities low, and so now you end up with a lot more high-severity fires in the West than had a fire regime kept under its historic recurrence. This, to me, is more a lesson of fire exclusion and keeping fire out of the system. If we're keeping it out of when it would burn with a beneficial effect, it will burn, and the probability of it burning at an unbeneficial state is higher.
So again, this is where it's complicated. We thought if only we could stop the fires, we'd win the fight. But the fires like the King Fire here show that stopping the fires only made it worse. Add that to the fact that we're living closer than ever to these wild lands. So to help us understand the wildland-urban interface, we met up with CAL FIRE. And as we were pulling up to this neighborhood, one of the residents quickly came out to tell us about the latest fire.
Yeah, our biggest fear is fire. It was very scary. I mean, everybody was honking and get out, and you know, there's a fire.
This is the risk across California. The response piece alone isn't going to solve this challenge if the homeowners aren't organized.
Because we're all in the same boat. We're one match away from everybody losing everything. It's a real fear.
Literally, we could have that fire spread up in here within a matter of seconds.
Wow.
California is going to have fires. We're not going to stop all the fires in California, so we have to have an infrastructure that's fire resistant. We need to work on policies that help us engage in active management of our forest. That's using prescribed fire as a tool. It's all the things in the toolbox. It's a combination of managing our forest and a combination of protecting our communities that are in them.
If it wasn't complicated enough, this made it very clear that you can't just let the fires burn whenever they start. The forests need to be managed to help mitigate the risk to us. But using fire seems to be one of the keys to making things safer, and knowing the science behind fire is always key to implementing good management.
Fire Sciences Lab, right over here.
So we made a stop at the Missoula Fire Lab to try to understand what we know about fire.
You see the flames at the very top and how they're sticking to the slope?
They really are. Everybody's laying down.
They're laying down. Well, that's flame attachment. Actually a very difficult thing to understand.
Here at the Fire Lab, the scientists study the basics of fire. Understanding the complexities here helps firefighters and forest managers in the field better predict and fight wildland fires.
Fires are inevitable. The only choices that we really have is what kind of fire to have and when do we want it. And that's it. Almost? Ready. You're ready. Jason's ready.
Mark's team is prepping to light a huge bed of precisely cut cardboard.
You're not going to be in any danger. So when the lights go out, don't move. Gasoline.
This is one of many experiments they'll run to understand the physics of fire, how it moves, how it spreads, and all of this measured by precise scientific instruments and high-speed cameras. tens of thousands of pieces of cardboard up in flames in mere seconds. The ongoing research will help us better understand fire with the ultimate goal that we can live better with it. But can we do that? There is one forest we knew of that seems to have figured out this coexistence with fire, a place where fires burn all summer, every summer. It's part of their way of life and a mentality we wanted to know about.
And here we went out with our guides Frank Lake and Steve Valentine, who work with the local U.S. Forest Service and tribe to help keep a healthy forest.
This is perfect.
The fires basically come through and cleared out the understory, and all that's left are the trees.
Yeah, it's black and it's charred, and you just see a few of the earliest sprouts, but you come back in here a year, it's going to be alive again.
And to many, this may seem destroyed, but they view it differently here.
That fire's medicine, because it's not if it comes, it's when it comes. We need fire, and fire needs us.
You see, fire needs people to remind us how important fire is to the ecosystem.
Frank and Steve's ancestors have been burning this forest for millennia. It's now part of what makes the forest special. They just want to make sure that it's not forgotten.
Basically, what you leave behind is what's important.
When they say this is your foods and your medicines, your sacred places, your springs, your water, that's essential, that's who we are as people. We have to learn to live with fire. We have to learn to respect fire. We have to maintain that security. That's why I do what I do.
Haley and I have learned a lot on our journey. We've learned that fire is complicated, and it's not as black and white as we make it out to be, and it is an integral part of our forests. They've had fire running through them for thousands of years, and they will continue to have fire in them in the future. And we can't always put the fires out. We have to decide what kind of fires to live with, and that is why we need to work with these fire crews from around the country. We also need a public who understands the importance of fire on the landscape. A healthy forest, you see, is a forest that lives with fire.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Well, let's now check out the sea ice edge here to wrap up our show with the marine weather segment. And we can see throughout the lower Chukchi Sea, Bering Strait, north side of St. Lawrence Island. We have a lot of open water all the way down there through Norton Sound, but still some lingering ice east side of St. Lawrence Island, up through the just south of the Bering Strait, and then through Kotzebue Sound, and along the northwest coast all the way up to Utqiagvik. And we do expect the ice to begin breaking up more along the eastern Arctic coast, and we can also see far east there where the Mackenzie River enters the Canadian Arctic coast. The ice there too is beginning to break up, and we'll continue to see the melt off as we dive into the true summer season. Solstice coming up here on Tuesday. Well, looking at the inner channels of the Panhandle, winds will be southerly 15 knots, waves 2-3 feet. Outer coast on the Gulf there, while winds out of the south 10 to as high as 20 knots, waves 6-7 feet. And for Monday, this is all amongst showers, because showers will be overspreading the Panhandle on Sunday and stay across the region Monday into Tuesday. South winds continue through the inner channels, 10 to 15 knots, waves 2 to 3 feet, and generally a southerly component to the wind there on the outer Gulf Coast with waves running 5 to 6 feet. Back through the northwestern Gulf, winds will be variable off the Kenai around 10 knots, as well as in through the heart of Cook Inlet. Southeast winds 15 knots, waves a couple of feet at Prince William Sound. And then on Monday, we expect winds to be more out of the northeast off of the Kenai, 10 to 20 knots. 10-knot north winds with 2-foot waves in Prince William Sound. The Kenai Peninsula, variable winds at the mouth of Cook Inlet, and up through the central and north end of the inlet, winds will be out of the south-southwest 10 knots, waves just a couple of feet. For Sunday, around Kodiak Island and the North Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula, variable winds generally around 10 knots, waves in the open waters of the Pacific Western Gulf 5-6 feet. And look for east to northerly winds 10 to 15 knots from Bristol Bay down to the north side or the Bering side of the peninsula. On Monday, variable winds around 10 knots continue. Shelikof straight down along the Pacific side of the peninsula, but look for west winds 10 to 15 knots from Bristol Bay down to north of Cold Bay with waves a foot or two. The eastern Aleutians on Sunday will see northwesterly winds around 15 to 20 knots with waves 4 to 6 feet. Winds turn back around to the south-southeast once you get west of AKwx as another low approaching the far western Aleutians, upwards to 30 knots, waves 6 to 9 feet there. And then on Monday, variable winds over the eastern Aleutians around 10 knots, waves a couple of feet, but they turn back toward the south and pick up 20 to 30 knots once you get west of Atka and Adak, with waves building out those ways 6 to 10 feet. Along the western coast, onshore flow out of the west-northwest, west flow into Norton Sound 10 knots, waves a couple of feet, variable winds in the vicinity of Nunavik Island and around St. Paul and St. George, with waves there just a couple of feet. For Monday, westerly winds 15 knots there through Norton Sound. Winds turn more southerly once you get west of the YK deltas out into the open waters west of Nunavik Island to 20 knots and waves 4 to 6 feet. Along the Arctic coast, winds will be out of the northeast to east at 10 to 15 knots. And the lower Chukchi Sea, look for easterly winds off the northwest coast there to 15 knots, turning more southerly 10 to 20 knots north of the Bering Strait, with waves 2 to 4 feet. And on Monday, those southerly winds continue from the north side of Nunavik, or I should say north side of St. Lawrence Island through the Bering Strait, lower Chukchi Sea. We're looking at 20 to 25 knot southerly winds, waves 4 to 5 feet. Ice still in place, though, also in the process of breaking loose there, especially along the shore areas of the eastern Arctic coast, Utqiagvik through Katovik. We are looking at easterly winds around 20 knots in that time frame. Quick check of the synoptic maps. Main low pressure there just southwest of Kodiak Island on the North Pacific side of the Alaska Peninsula. There is another low that's rotating up from the North Pacific that'll move inland, enhancing the rain across the panhandle as we go into Monday and Tuesday as that system lifts northward. The low that was southwest of Kodiak Island is rather weak and just sits in the central Gulf, and then scattered showers and thunderstorms will continue to be a threat across the interior, especially there north of the Alaska Range, with generally dry weather across the west and far north side of the state. So that does it for our show on this Saturday evening. Thank you for watching, and be sure to join me again come tomorrow.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.